Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, March 20th, 2020. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. Although these are anything but usual times, my friend. JBook, you live in the Phoenix, Arizona area. What are some things you and your family are doing to pass the time with no sports, and just how you getting along, man?
Yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. For us, it's kind of a lifestyle change. The gyms are closed down, so my wife and I have been getting up in the mornings and getting just outdoor workouts in order to try to keep us sane, with both of us being very active. But other than that, it's just kind of been business as usual here out in Arizona. And you and I were talking off air. It's kind of weird here watching you guys from afar, seeing how strict and how on top of things Mike DeWine is. It's been pretty kind of lackadaisical out in these neck of the woods. Obviously, they canceled spring training, but for the most part, everybody's just kind of going about their business. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So hopefully things keep going for the better for the country. But as far as sports is concerned, Ohio State recruiting has pretty much been keeping me sane. It's been between Ohio State recruiting and NFL free agency. Those two things have pretty much captured the headlines in sports this past week.
Yeah, thank goodness for both of those, and we're going to get into a lot of Ohio State football recruiting on the show today. We've been talking about that all week. I did want to start the show off talking about something a little bit different, looking at the season itself, the 2020 college football season. ESPN's Football Power Index, recently came out with the rankings. It's not an opinion; it's a computer, with using advanced analytics, a formula using advanced analytics, and they spit out that Clemson's going to be the number 1 team, the favorite to win the national championship. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Oklahoma. Number 4, Alabama. Number 5, Penn State. I don't think there's any big surprises in there. Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, Penn State. But just curious to get your take on that, JBook.
Yeah, not a surprise that you see some of the Blue Bloods right there in the top 5 there. A little surprised with Penn State being there, especially this is a program that really struggled in their bowl game with Memphis. They gave up, 40-plus points, and it was an absolute shootout. So I'm surprised that they're that high on them heading into the preseason. I know they have some returning pieces coming back, but the thing that you have to look at Penn State is they've had a tremendous amount of coaching turnover over the last several years. For me, I think it's going to be obviously Ohio State and Clemson, the top 2 dogs there. I think Alabama's going to be able to reclaim their perch in the SEC. I think you're going to see a massive drop-off from LSU, especially with Joe gone, and you're starting to see turnover on their coaching staff as well. So I think Alabama will be there. But a lot of people believe that Alabama's reign as a dynasty is starting to come to an end. If you kind of look at the 24/7 recruiting, Alabama's always right up there banging for those top spots. They are really struggling on the recruiting trail when it comes to this recruiting cycle. So it maybe some people down in SEC country are holding out hope to see what Alabama's going to do this year. But it'll be interesting because the thing about Alabama was that defense was atrocious this past year. But as far as top to bottom roster, as far as the roster go and the coaching, I think it's going to be Ohio State and Clemson staring down each other again.
All right, as promised, let's talk some recruiting. Last time you and I talked, Ohio State had the number 1 class in the country for 2021, had a pretty decent little lead over Clemson. Since then, they have been on fire. They now have this crazy lead. They've got commits from 4 kids this week alone, all highly rated kids. I guess Devontae Smith isn't highly rated yet, but everybody thinks he's going to be a 4-star eventually. He's just very underrated right now. But this recruiting juggernaut that's going on for the Buckeyes, JBook, go.
It's just tremendous. I mean, what can you say? There's not another college football program right now that is recruiting at the highest level as Ohio State right now. Just for some time's sake, because things are pretty slow here and, being off work, I went ahead and just searched the boards on 24/7. And a lot of talk there during that run was people just couldn't believe how hot Ohio State was on the recruiting trail. Getting a couple laughs definitely from the Michigan boards over their meltdown, but it's just a testament to Ryan Day and his coaching staff. You have a unified coaching staff that are really competing I mean, when you look at the 24/7 recruiting rankings, out of the top 8, 5 of those coaches are from Ohio State. So to say that elite recruiting is happening at Ohio State right now is an understatement. And if you look at Steve Wilfong's article in regards to the potential to come, if Ohio State can nail down their top targets that they're leading for, or they're in the top 2 for, it's going to be in a historic class. It's going to be, as far as recruiting points go, the best class in the history of recruiting rankings. And you already have a couple 5-stars and high-end talent here, but there's a lot of meat left on the bone when it comes to securing some commitment from other high-end talent that's waiting there.
Tre'Veyon Henderson could be next. I mean, in fact, it sounds like it's just a matter of time before he's in the class. I don't know if he'll be next, but he could be the next one to join up. Evan Pryor committed on Monday, the number 5 running back in the country. Tre'Veyon Henderson is the number 2 running back in the country according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, but is the number 1 running back in the country according to the in-house 24/7 Sports rankings. I absolutely love his film. I think anybody who would watch the film would just fall in love with this kid. I mean, I like Evan Pryor's film a lot too. I think Evan Pryor's probably playing against tougher competition. Although Virginia has good high school football, I don't know specifically about the competition that Tre'Veyon Henderson's going up against. But bottom line is, it looks really good for Ohio State to land Tre'Veyon Henderson. It looks great for them to land Tre'Veyon Henderson. So I want to ask you this: of the guys that are currently committed, or the guys that we think are going to be in the class, like Tre'Veyon Henderson, maybe a JT Tuimoloau, we'll talk about him a little bit. Bill Kurelic has crystal balled him to Ohio State, the number 1 defensive tackle in the country. So of the current commits, JBook, and the guys that we think are going to be in the class, who excites you the most? You can name more than one guy.
Yeah, I'll start with Henderson, because he is prime time, and you can't mention Henderson without mentioning Tony Alford. You and I have spoken numerous times on our Friday Bucknuts call in regards to Tony Alford and a lot of the heat that he was getting from the fan base when it came to the recruiting numbers for last year. And the thing that you and I have been pretty consistent about is Tony just didn't forget to recruit overnight. Things fell into place last year where it was unfortunate that the top guys that they had on their board basically committed, backed out at the last minute. So to be in the position that you're in right now with Tre'Veyon Henderson, not even stepping foot on campus, speaks volumes in regards to Tony Alford's recruiting job this cycle. He's the number 2 recruiter in the country in college football behind Brian Hartline. But Henderson, I am really, really happy about the direction this is going. Think about Reggie Bush in Ryan Day's offense. That's what type of guy that you're getting as far as explosiveness, top-end speed. He's a track sprinter. Right before things got canceled there was clips of him just absolutely showing top-end speed in his indoor track running. He's a 6'1", 210-pound back already that can pop the top off the defense. That's what you want to see, a prime-time back. And the thing that you have to really like about Henderson is him and Evan Pryor really complement each other. They're 2 different style of backs, but very, very efficient. Both guys are sub-11.0 speed in the 100, so you're getting some guys that can really take it to the house. But him and the fact that they are potentially leading for JT Tuimoloau out of Washington, the number 1 player in the country, the defensive tackle, you have to mention his name because he's a difference maker inside. If you compare him with the guys that you're in the running for on the defensive line, you're talking about a monster front for Ohio State. It's going to be sad for the Big Ten because you look at this top-end talent here, it's not even close compared to other Big Ten teams. They can't even hold a candle. If you look at the 14 commits that they currently have in the class, this class will rank 10th in the country in last recruiting cycle, ahead of Michigan and Penn State, ahead of any other team in the Big Ten. So just with a half a class, that's how talented this year's recruiting class is. And I think they're going to hit it out the park. I know Ryan Day or a recruit said that they text Ryan Day this week, and one of the topics that Ryan Day even talked to them about was making history which is bringing in the best class in the history. So not only are us fans and media talking about it, but it's a point of emphasis within the program that they know what's at stake here, and the fact that they're even throwing that out to the recruits tell you that guys are buying into it. Now you kind of look at it as the dream team, not necessarily a dream team, but the LeBron James type of thing, where top players want to play with top guys. A lot of these high-end recruits, they're all in group messaging and group chats. They're all talking to each other. Our commits are doing a heck of a job selling the Ohio State program. I know a lot of the commits were on Snapchat Live saying that they know for sure there are 3 more guys which are silent commits. Who they are, you guys can figure it out. But the kids are saying there's already 3 more high-end guys that they know for sure is in already, and they're looking pretty good for quite a bit more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're not just going to coast to the finish here. It's just going to get better. When JT Tuimoloau has crystal balls in for Ohio State from Bill Green and Bill Kurlick, I think Buckeye fans should feel good about that. That's just huge news. On the other end of the spectrum, Michigan only has 2 commitments. They're ranked 30th in the country. Now, the 2 commits they have are, a 5-star and a 4-star, so they have 2 good commitments. But here's the problem for Michigan, though. You look at their top targets, they don't seem like they have a very good chance of landing very many of their top targets. They might have a bevy of 3 stars in this class, and to say the gap is going to just get wider between Ohio State and Michigan is a complete understatement. And maybe Michigan can turn it around and, salvage this class. It's still very early, but they are off to a terrible start.
Yeah, they're struggling, and I find it hilarious because they thought Jim Harbaugh was going to be their savior. He was going to be the one that comes in and saves the program, and it's looking awful for them. It's been 10 months since they got a commitment. Ohio State has 14 commits compared to their 2, and a lot of their top in-state guys are looking elsewhere. If you look at some of the crystal ball conversations that's been going on 24/7, a lot of their in-state guys are being crystal ball to leave. And if you're Michigan and you're at minimum trying to compete at a high level, you got to keep those in-state guys home. And you look at Garrett Dillinger, offensive tackle for them. He's he's number 4 tackle on 24/7, and it's been a run of crystal balls to LSU. That's the guy that Michigan and back in Lloyd Carr days would be keeping home. So the fact that Donovan Edwards is maybe going to get shut out here, and that may open the door for them because Henderson may decide to grab that other running back spot. It's just a situation where Michigan is not. They're not attractive to kids right now. A lot of the high-end prospects, they're looking elsewhere, even in-state. And I think the biggest thing is not necessarily Michigan's brand, but the fact that they can't develop talent. They're not developing guys. You look at Ohio State, you look at the other SEC teams, they are putting bodies in the NFL. Michigan is struggling. Michigan will beat up on the powder puff teams like the Rutgers and the Marylands like they're supposed to. But you play a team with a pulse or on the road, they will fold. They will get hit in the mouth and they will fold. And that's just kind of been the MO of the program right now under Jim Harbaugh's direction. So it's not only something that the fans see or the media, the kids are seeing it right now.
Looks like Trey Sermon is going to transfer and be a Buckeye. He was at Oklahoma, of course, the previous 3 seasons. Ohio State was one of his 5 finalists when he was being recruited out of the state of Georgia out of high school. To me, this seems like a perfect fit because the Buckeyes need running backs, and Trey Sermon's not looking to be a guy that probably wants to carry the ball 25 times a game coming off a torn ACL. You look at the crystal ball picks. Yes, everybody that doesn't know, we have crystal ball picks even for transfers. That's how we do it at 24/7 Sports. Leave no stone unturned. Again, keep name dropping here. Bill Green, Bill Kurlick have crystal balled Trey Sermon to Ohio State. Sean Fitz, Penn State insider, has crystal balled Trey Sermon to Penn State, and those are the only crystal ball picks that are in for Trey Sermon. So it's looking good if he does become a Buckeye. What would be your thoughts? What should fans expect out of Trey Sermon as a senior?
Yeah, it's going to be a situation where it's just a matter of if, not when. When is it going to happen? to say because of all of the visits being canceled because of the coronavirus. But he's a guy that's going to be able to step in right now, high-end talent. It'll be interesting to see how much pop he still has left after that ACL tear. I think he tore it in November, so he's still rehabbing at Oklahoma. But if they can get him healthy and get him back to form, it's going to be a tremendous boom to the program because they really need a running back here. And just getting him in the fold with a healthy Still Chambers and Marcus Crowley coming back, it is much needed for the program because you have a veteran in there that plays in a similar style of offense at Oklahoma where he's used to being able to play out of the spread. So getting Trey Sermon in the fold kind of eases the tension at that running back position because this is going to be a banner year for Ohio State. I know Trey Sermon grew up 10 miles from Justin Fields, and they've known each other, since they were kids. So the familiarity is there for him. If you look at his Twitter, he just recently started following Tony Alford, so that's kind of a dead giveaway there. But I think it's going to be a situation where he was a big-time runner for Oklahoma, and things kind of fell sour there. He started losing some touches and got hurt. So he's looking for greener pastures, and I think Ohio State, like you said, is the perfect fit for him.
So much good news on the show that we've talked about so far. We're going to end the show with some bad news, a young man we'll all be rooting for. But DJ Carton, the Ohio State freshman point guard, has announced he will transfer from Ohio State. He's not announced where yet. I imagine it'll be somewhere somewhat close to his home in Bettendorf, Iowa. A young man that was dealing with some personal issues, some anxiety, and, mental health is nothing to take lightly. I just wish the young man well, and I hope Buckeye fans wish him well. Obviously, we all wish that it would have worked out well. This kid is a extremely talented basketball player, Mr. Basketball out of the state of Iowa. I think he's going to do very well, but obviously some bad news there for Ohio State that DJ Carton's leaving the program. Just your thoughts, JBook.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see the kid go. One thing you can be proud of is through that entire situation, Ohio State has handled themselves with nothing but class. Going down from the basketball program, even Gene Smith, they gave him the utmost support, and they were willing to just help him out as much as possible, and not necessarily because he's a basketball player, it's because they care about their student athletes. And as you mentioned, taking someone's mental health into account is very serious in today's age. And you wish this kid nothing but the best. And the thing that you really like to see is that he said that he has nothing but love for Ohio State. He loves the community, loves the program. It's just that he needs to have a fresh start. So in this instance, for him, as far as his mental health, which is the most important thing, you wish him nothing but the best and Godspeed.
Absolutely. Very well said. Great stuff as always from Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it, JBook. And thank you to all listeners out there for tuning into the show. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Stay safe, Bucknutters. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.